Welcome back, everybody. We're about to get started with day number 2 of the first week of round robin proceedings here. I hope you guys enjoyed that little interlude of Frodan trying to camouflage himself amongst the giants of Hearthstone. But Raven, I know you can speak to this, but I'm constantly amazed about how short the average Hearthstone caster actually is. I'm not a tall person. I'm like 5'11 and a half, like 181, 182 if you're a centimeters kind of person, and I tower over the majority of Hearthstone casters. Like, what? Why is that, Raven?
I don't know, but I greatly enjoy the fact that I'm probably deemed on the taller side of things if we're going to go across all Hearthstone casters. So, you know what? No complaints on my end. I'm a very average height person, but I'm okay being one of the taller ones when we include some of the Hearthstone casters from the past as well. So, I don't know, but I'm happy about it. But it's I will say, when you see when you see us in the past stand behind desks and we all look kind of the same height, yeah, some of us have stood on boxes at that point. So revealing the mysteries of the production there for you guys. But yes, I am excited to kick off this first match. It's going to be Kolento versus Casie. And this is where we're going to see. Oh, there we go. We see already, Sol, the first clash of Hunter versus Rogue. And I don't mean in a matchup, but as a fourth deck choice or fourth class choice. The
Ooh.
Hunter regaining the respect of a ban over Warrior or Demon Hunter. Who would have thought it? I understand it's subtle, but I don't think anyone expected this to happen.
No, I mean, I certainly, as I said, I have a lot of respect for Face Hunter in this lineup. I think the players that have Face Hunter, I think they've got it pretty much spot on to what I would be bringing to this tournament. Maybe Firebat, I think, is going full on like 4 aggro decks, which like maybe is a bit extreme, but we'll see if that works out for him. Not sure what his result was last night. I do believe he played, but seeing it go down to a ban is admittedly a little bit surprising to me. And again, it sort of factors into Kolento's ban as well, because one of the big reasons Kolento is banning Warrior is that he has that Hunter on its side, which is a pretty much unwinnable matchup in that position. Obviously, with Demon Hunter as well, that's skewed towards wanting to ban the Warrior alongside that as well. But of course, winning the ban phase can sometimes be a big advantage for you in a series. I wonder if potentially Casie has done that here with a slightly unconventional looking ban.
Yeah, and this is one of the weird things, right? Where you see that I'm not saying the ban for Hunter is wrong by any means. Like I said, completely understand it. But now we're going to very quickly find out if it's going to pay off or not. Because although you're banning a counter class or counter deck to your lineup because of the mage and rogue being left up, you're still leaving the best deck in the game up, and then arguably the second best deck in the game up with Warrior and Demon Hunter, right? So suddenly you've got to look at this, and maybe it would be the case regardless. But if Kolento gets a win on his Rogue, is he just smooth sailing for the whole series, right? Because I do feel like looking at Casey's lineup, what he has left to play, there is big questions on this Mage and the Rogue, which we've been seeing kind of throughout this weekend so far across all regions. Whereas Kolento gets to play Warrior and Demon Hunter. I feel like I don't want to say he's already won, but it's the best start you could want, right?
It does look pretty solid. I do think the mage's life gets a lot easier with the face hunter ban from Casey's side, so that does make a lot of sense as well. But yeah, I mean you're absolutely right. It's going to come down to the rogue and if it can get a win, as you said. But as we've been seeing, that's a much bigger if, it seems, than you might have expected coming into the week, because the rogues do generally seem to have been struggling pretty much across the board through all the regions.
Yeah, and honestly, because again, self-confess, I played way more Highlander Rogue than I do Two of, and Two of's the more
You
popular.
fool!
Well, am I, Sol? Because everyone else is bringing Two of here, and it seems to be losing a lot. So let's ask that
Ah.
question. But honestly, what are the? Why do you think it seems to be losing? Do you think it's just it's just a low sample size? It's kind of just what happens sometimes, or do you think there's a core reason why maybe this rogue list or the two main types of rogue are struggling this week again?
I would personally just put it down to variance right now. I think a lot of Rogue's matchups are pretty 50-50. It's not super dominant or super unfavored in any one individual matchups. There's a lot of like 48 to 52% matchups if you look at data. So when your matchups are generally that close, you can expect, variance to hit you with, very bad days and very good days, right? And
Right.
now, hopefully for me as a Rogue fan and a big supporter of these builds is, we'll start to see some of the better days come out now over today and tomorrow.
Okay, well, we can. All we can do is track the stats, and by we, I mean Lorinda. Kolento and Casie kicking off game number 1 here. Rogue versus Demon Hunter. So first test coming up today. for the Rogue here in the European region. Although double backstab, coin, miscreant, and a seal fate. Seems like Kolento started off on the right side of the bed here, I think.
It does. I would ideally like to see some development go alongside this. He does have Miscreant, which then gives him lackeys, which is then usually development. But you can't just sit back and remove minions against Demon Hunter forever. You do have to counter push it sometimes. And I think that's honestly the big strength of the Rogue in the matchup. And the ones that they do win is that they're able to counter push so effectively, right? Just big Heist Baron Togwaggle swing. Galakron gets you a bit of armor, and then you just push 2 big minions on the board for free. Put a Titanic Lackey on one of them and just start going face and ignoring all their minions. You know, I think counter racing in those positions is usually more often than not how you win.
Yeah, and that's it, right? It's the combo, because if you can remove the early push, it means Demon Hunter has a much tougher job of saying, oh, okay, forget about the board, I'm just going to kill you with either weapons, metamorphoses, etc., Gravebound of Depth. And the more you can reduce that opening set of damage, it works very similar to Hunter, where because it just removes the option for them to just ignore everything and go phase. We'll see how it pans out so far, though, although Altreus, Twin Slice seems like a pretty good backup plan so far. Casie off to a relatively slow start for Demon Hunter.
He is, and he should be looking for a quick start because he's playing the faster build of the deck. I think this is one of the hot debates that we'll be seeing running through all regions this week and possibly moving forward for another week or two just yet, is the slightly slower build that goes all the way up to Priestess of Fury, and instead this build that Casey's running that has more early game, beaming sidekicks, and just tops out at Skull of Gul'dan instead. So Casie has, one of the fastest possible Demon Hunter builds, but he's still off to a little bit of a slow start here.
Yeah, and funnily enough, Kolento's Demon Hunter, although not playing yet, is running that Priestess of Fury build, so even those are going to clash at some point in this series. So far, Frenzied Felwing, really good enough right now, so Casie can take it slow, although I will say, ever going to be forced to take it slow, then having Altreus, the Twin Slices, and then a Skull of Gul'dan as backup is probably as good as it's going to get.
You would imagine so. Slight problem with just the outcast positioning right now is ideally, obviously, you'd love to rip the skull and then have your big Altruist turn with like millions of discounted cards. Not really possible the way the hand is laid out right now.
It's just turn 10 to get that going.
Yeah.
In the meantime, though, Kolento has a pretty, multiple way to actually kill this, but honestly, I think backstabbing, getting this dirty tricks active might be really good. He can hold the 2/3 poison on board to represent a bit of a speed bump for Casie to deal with before he commits anything reasonably sized. I think Demon Hunter very consistently cast spells, right? So it's not like this dirty tricks is really going to be played around, i.e. not being procced. Casie.
I adore this Titanic Lackey on the Pharaoh Cat. Going into Demon Hunter's turn 5, if you're trying to beat them, if you're a pretty casual player and you don't play every game of Hearthstone 100% focused all the time, you want to just improve your win rate against Demon Hunter, just pay attention going into their turn 5. It's usually the most important. So you can see what Kolento's done here is put a 1/4 taunt in play. So if Warglaves of Azzinoth comes down, he has to eat 2 charges jamming into a 1/4 taunt before he can do anything relevant with it after that.
Which is extremely horrible. Other notes as well, even beyond that, is the Metamorphosis turn, but also bear in mind for turn 5, a Twin Slice Glavebound Adept turn, which is very good as well. It kind of lets you just Glavebound that one turn quicker. But yeah, this is huge, just mainly for the Warglaves, which is what you're dodging. So Casie commits to just saying, okay, a bit awkward anyway, not much else to do. Just play that Metamorphosis, get the hero power lock loaded. But Kolento has all of the priority in the world.
So many options.
He does. Casie is kind of happy just to sit back and chill a little bit right now, though, because he knows he has this pretty insane-looking Altruist clear setup, which, alongside Metamorphosis, he's going to be able to deal with just about anything that comes out.
I will act as your skin.
I wonder if he's actually going to look at what Kolento does, but Skull of Gul'dan next turn. He ever wants to be mega greedy, but with this Shield of Galakron, he might not be able to in case he seems unhappy.
Yeah,
the problem here is the Twin Slice doesn't actually really do anything.
Right. He didn't get a playable in his right outcast slot that he can go with his Altruise for like the full clear. So yeah, I think because of that,
I like this.
does just have to be the skull. So now Casie can just fully Altruise from the left-hand side of his hand instead.
Yeah, and you can clear the board as well, even without the hero power next turn, if it stays roughly this size in terms of total or highest health on board.
Yeah, he can do 5 AoE while spending all of his mana on cards.
Yep.
So,
So many options.
ooh, Titanic Lackey number 2. Going dirty tricks instead, though. Probably wise. Even with the 1 additional minion buffed up, Casie will probably, if he had an Altruise turn, find a way to divert and just use his hero power instead of playing 1 additional card to find a clear in that case.
What must be done?
Yeah, draw not fantastic either for Casie, but he can still get some work done here. This is the frustration. If it was a 1-drop or a 2-drop, this would look significantly better for him, as in the card he drew this turn. He didn't have to sink a whole 5 damage into it. Would it have been too crazy to face tank the 4-1 and push a little bit extra to face? You go down to 8.
Probably yes, would be
think
my
it's close,
immediate
though.
answer to that. Yeah, Casey's playing the no I-beams list though, right? So he just doesn't really have any stability in being able to get back up.
Yeah, I just wonder if the damage to face, in both instances, I guess, actually speeds the game up, so it doesn't matter, right? Like, because he would be, he's asking for 8 from Kolento, which is, see, there's just 2 eviscerates, but it's not that easy to do very quickly anyway. And in that world, Altruis always has to get cleared as well.
Kolento actually only plays 1 eviscerate in his list as well, but I still don't like taking the damage because, you know, if there's a swing turn here from Kolento, like, the other thing that you miss when you don't play I-beam, it's not just the healing, it's also just on-demand removal. So yeah, like dealing 8 from hand sounds kind of hard, but as soon as Kolento sticks 1 minion, like Casey's just kind of dead at that point, right?
Yeah, some good news for Casie though. There was only a 1-1 actually played on board, so again, a very much manageable threat.
I see his weakness.
Oh, Sata hero power. That's a board.
And somehow, Demon Hunter just always finds a way, Raven.
Don't ask me how, Sol, because I actually don't really know what happened here. And he still has Glaive Bounder in hand as well, so that's 4 from hand. Which is very easy to pull off, especially because you're case on 9 mana next turn, which means he's got all the mana in the world to push. What is Kolento even going to do? He needs a Waste Warden!
Currently has 9 cards in his hand as well, so the Galakrond, which is fully invoked, is not going to give him full value right now unless he dumps a card first. And the cards he has to dump are not particularly great. Praise and the Draconic Lackey both just replace themselves anyway, and Titanic and the Witchy Lackey are just kind of 0 value here to get out of his hand.
So
Yeah, I think he has to
many
drop a
options.
Lackey, Faceless Corruptor, and then Titanic one, right?
I can see that.
Just to do the double effect of... Oh, he's just going to go. Well, these 4 cards better be good.
Yeah, those are pretty good.
Okay, 4 cards, pretty good. Oh, and the one he burnt was the one he just didn't need.
Return is nigh.
Casie, hands up in the air. But he does really care, because this actually might have just won Kolento the game.
You're not going to hold on to a 0 mana 5/5, are you? No, okay. He was
No,
playing.
yeah.
He was playing it. He was playing it. It's fine.
And already game one, Casie looked like he was going to get there, but Kolento with a little rub of his belly in victory, I guess.
Demon Hunters, get in my belly!
Yep. Well, that was easy. Made it look pretty easy there. Honestly, I think, at least if I was in that chair, I would have gone for Faceless, trade, buff one, get the 2/4/2s off the board, and hope you can hold on for a bit longer. But Kolento, not called K-God for no reason, as he just ripped the Galakrond and got insane draws to be able to clear that board and shut Casie out. Insane.
Yeah, I think he got just the actual nuts, right? Well, he still had Flick in there as well. I think
Sure.
Kolento was probably keeping closer track of what his remaining cards are than we were, and he had a lot of really good swinging things there. Obviously, we saw the Kronks. Heist Baron Togwaggle was great as well, but then the Flick was in there available. Obviously, Casey super frustrated that it was as good as it was, but my instinct at the start of the turn certainly was Galakrond, but when you proposed the Faceless play, it seemed okay. It didn't really have enough time to fully break it down. Before the point that Kolento just threw out the Galakrond and the game ended. But I think it was a solid suggestion for sure. But yeah, I think the setup of just a consistent 2-turn lethal with the claw was, I think, just the most appealing thing there for Kolento. If you could just get something to clear a little bit of the board state away.
Honestly, I kind of forgot or didn't realize the Galakrond was fully invoked. So that would have definitely altered the plan just a tiny bit.
I even said it.
I know, I don't always listen to you, Sol, just most of the
That's
time.
fair.
That is just game number one, though. Kolento fights back with it against this Demon Hunter push, gets a win with his Rogue as well, which is huge for the outcome of the series. But we are going to go to a quick break while we set up game number two. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more Kolento versus Casie. We are back and ready to continue the series between Kolento and Casie. Kolento taking a quick win in game number 1 with his Rogue versus Demon Hunter, but now the tables are turned and it's going to be Casie on Demon Hunter and Kolento, sorry, Casie on Rogue and Kolento on Demon Hunter. There we go, I confused myself there, as they are going to be playing the same matchup, but reversed. So we'll see if Kolento can get the win in and do what Casie could not in game number 1.
So you know what will be the real tilter now for Casie if it comes through is if Kolento just gets off to an absolute flying start with perfect curve, couple of 1-drops into Umberwing, into say to Overseer, because Casey's the one who's built his deck in the way that entitles him to do that more often, and he whiffed and got a pretty clunky start. And this is not like the games we saw like last night in Americas with PNC, where he was outcast blocked by a Priestess of Fury on the left-hand side of his hand the entire time. Casey's deck is built in a way that should avoid that happening, and he still kind of got caught by it, whereas Kolento does have the slightly bigger, clunkier build of the deck with Priestess of Fury included.
Yeah, and it's all about the payoff, right? Because although the Priestess of Fury build seems to be the most generally common just on ladder, the issue is sometimes it is just you end up with 2 Priestess of Fury in your hand, and it's just a nightmare because then you can't do anything, and Demon Hunter really wants to just go really fast and just put the pressure on, and you can't do that if you have 2 7-drops in hand. But when you get Raging Fell Screamer combo off with the Priestess of Fury, it is one of the most powerful like back-to-back turns you can do in the game, especially based on how early it comes down. So it's just a weird payoff, isn't it, where sometimes it loses you the game, a good chunk of the time it wins you the game.
And there it is. 1-drop, 1-drop, 1-drop for Kolento.
Even the Fell Screamer.
Yeah, because this was going to be such a point of contention, I think, going forward, I actually had Lorinda dig out some stats for me, just based on the first stage results. And so the faster Demon Hunter list was at a 50% win rate, 9 and 9 over day 1 across all regions. The bigger version with the Priestess of Fury was 3 and 5, so 38%. Matchup, with the faster version actually winning on the head-to-head record as well. So it does seem, at least for now, based on very small sample, that the faster list has been the way to go so far.
We'll see if Kolento can change or help towards changing that. He does have a few options now. Twin Slides means he can actually just deal with this Hanar if he wants and not even worry about all the secret shenanigans multiple players have had to deal with over the past day or so. Looks good to me, so I'll just clear the board. Double battlefield. Casie is already tilted off the face of the earth right now. I feel like next game, it's just not even going to be on camera. It's just going to be the backdrop and a chair.
I did warn you. I said it would be a tilter if it happened. What's that Hive song? Hate to say I told you so. Is that what it's called? I don't know what I'm saying.
Even just the follow-up with the Umberwing extra attack, that's an eye. Aye. Okay, we're gonna play a game. When will Casie concede? Turn 3? Turn 4?
Oh, come on, that's just cruel.
It is, but it's looking like it.
This is a man's livelihood at stake right now, Raven. Come on.
He does have the stunner.
Don't let the
Can put at least a bit of a stop to this big push. And also, after Raging Fell Screamer, which as a minion on its own is not that impactful, it's just a 4-mana 4/4. With no strong follow-up, Kolento could just dry up a little bit here in terms of his hand quality, but Demons Hunters, just cards in general, are normally so good that even just taking the game off the top is probably going to be alright.
It's a big swing turn from Casie, for sure. And he still has Backstab Miscreant into a Lackey on the following turn as well. And he also has essentially the promise of a 2-3 and a 3-3 like invested into his board already in the form of the secrets. He has Ambush and Pack Tactics. And so he's actually in a pretty okay looking position.
Yeah, most importantly, he has Shadow Step for this stunner, so even if the attack goes onto this stunner, it will create a 3/3/1, so then he can Shadow Step and replay if both secrets aren't obviously in the same turn. So options are there.
Time grows short. You fell right into
So there's the ambush. Kolento is now able to deal with this, which this is the secret he would have been expecting based on his information. He can now deal with this with the copies of Twin Slice. However,
But
his unknown secret is this pack tactics, which is going to potentially make a mess for him here.
You fell right into my trap.
at least when this situation occurs, when you feel like you're just behind after you thought you could have traded some stuff away, at least Kolento has dealt with Hanar and dealt with a good chunk of secrets and has a stunner already used, right? So at least there are some victories to take, even if this swing back from Casie is pretty strong.
Good news for Kolento is that he has now got his I-Beam outcasted. His Battle Fiends cost the regular amount of mana again.
Not tons to work with though, right? He has these two Battle Fiends, which are fantastic, do not get me wrong, but that's about it. Now backstab off the top. The one's going to be dealt with pretty easily, and as you mentioned, there is this Miscreant, there's even Shadow Step for either the Miscreant or a big lack of defending. I did wonder whether it was ever going to be faceless Shadow Step, sorry.
No, I think I'd always Shadow Step the Miscreant here in this position. Especially since, you know, his development here is so good. He got basically the perfect outcome there with either Rush or Kobold Lackey plus a Development Lackey, which I think was the perfect balance to come out of the first Miscreant.
Yep, it was
So
purely...
I don't think he needs to be stepping for more development.
Yeah, purely as a nod towards Kolento not having many cards means it's unlikely there's an Altruist turn coming. So a wider board with the Faceless Lackeys would have been maybe a bit stickier, but I'll never be too upset if there's a Miscreant Shadow Step. Gotta be a Deathwing, right?
Make your mind up, Raven. A minute ago he was going to concede on turn 3. Now you want to take a 10-drop? Which is it?
We must stand together, united for
Oh! Never mind. You're bailed out of having to think of a response to that. Because this is way more important.
Yes. In all seriousness, though, Demon Hunter doesn't really kill a 12-12 on an empty board, right? So that was my plan. This is insane, though. I noticed, just having a quick camera check. Casie throwing his arms up in the air in rage anymore. He is looking pretty calm and happy. Who would have thought? Yep. As the game seems to have gone his way now. And Skull of Gold down off the top, though, never mind. Casey's going to be angry.
Altruis and 2 other cards that cost less than 3. Every time. I've seen Kolento play before.
Oh,
damn.
Another Skull, though. He's got a second go at it next time, so... Casie is a player I do love to watch play the game.
He's great, isn't he?
I just love it. He got the Khadgar, some pretty solid outcomes, and as soon as the Skull was played, it's like, I'm so unlucky! I love Hearthstone. Kolento, especially with this Skull of World Down, just has to go for a wave of Demon Hunter where you go, okay, how do I actually just not die soon? Because the Skull's going to be such great refill, knowing that Kolento, one, the Skull only costs 3, that opens up more mana, then also the reduction because it's outcast. It's just, it's pretty insane. It means that as long as he just doesn't get smoked down, then he's going to be able to just hold off and potentially get cheaper Priestess of Furies.
Agreed. And I was ready to make the point that, weirdly, Kolento was about to suffer the opposite problem. Before he top decked Skull on the previous turn, he's the one that has the deck that's built to stay high on resources the whole time and be able to go long. And he was the one that was going to run out of cards and look like he was just going to lose to, you know, Shadow Step Miscreant, getting a bunch of resources from Casie. But now that double Skull, the Priestess of Fury that he has in his deck, those extra late game resources, it's what they're in the deck for, so that Kolento can go longer in situations like this.
Yeah, and even worst case, like absolute worst case, this Skull and can still equip Warglaives of Azinov this turn, which is is pretty crazy. Still now because of the Worm, though, facing down that 5 damage, which is probably the only minion on board that is actually making Kolento worry right now.
All right, hear me out, Raven. What if this isn't a Skull turn?
Oh, you want
What
to
if
do
you
the
just-
board swing turn?
Yeah, I'm thinking
It's
about it.
It's a little bit scary. Does he have information on this secret? Like, does he just know?
No, but even if it is ambush, which is the only quote bad one for it here, you still spank it with your Warglaives, right? So it's not that big of a deal.
Right into my trap.
Yeah, I actually thought Bamboozle might have been tough as well.
Oh, sure, yeah, Bamboozle would have
'Cause he's
been
swinging the
slightly
Warglaives,
more
right?
annoying.
But then with Khadgar, this summons 2/2/3, so kind of a weird
that
turn
still
all
just
around,
fine?
honestly.
2, 4, 7.
He just could do it anyway.
Take 7, there's 7 on board. Okay, yeah, no, actually that doesn't work. You actually just lethal yourself. There's enough damage left on board with the extra 2, 3. So he actually has to do it this way. But yeah, I think Kolento forgot about that as well, because if you're sculling, there's no reason to play the Sato there first, right?
Yep. And also just the double whammy, right? Not only the 2/3, but the 2/3 times 2 because of Mr. Khadgar on board is just so frustrating. But this is one of the big turns you can have with Warglaives against a wide board, is that you can make a wide board yourself.
I think from Casey's perspective, that turn looks so tilting. Because from Casie, it looks like he played a Sato Overseer for no reason, then played Skull, and then top-decked the Warglaives.
Had the
that he
Warglaives,
needed.
yeah.
Right, like he had the Warglaives the whole turn. Like he had a plan. I do think he forgot about the duplicate effect on the ambush. But from Casey's perspective, it's even more tilting.
Oh well, Kolento can get a guaranteed draw with this Watcher into Chaos Strike this turn.
Yep.
Problem is it does limit the follow-up if he wants to Warglaives.
I grow impatient.
So do you think he just wants to get this Fell Screamer down and just Watcher for the Priestess?
Does he need, like, exactly Altruis here? And is Altruis even good enough if he gets it? It's not, right? You've just already played your hand.
I think Priestess is probably good enough, right?
Yeah.
Because he would just trade the minions into the Worm and then do whatever
Yeah.
with the rest of the minions, and then it's
Yeah.
like 1 health dudes on the board.
So that's what I'm trying to avoid, is that I really don't want to trade all my minions into the Worm, but I'm aware of how absurdly greedy that plan is. Worst case scenario, you can just do that.
Demons.
What do you think? Do you think he went for Kane? We can poke
I
the
would-
shield and then Kane in.
Expect so, yeah.
Oh. So full clear and trades to make even more dudes. That was a weird turn, Sol. I'm not sure what I think about the outcome here.
We're with
2 damage required for Casie. Casey's face. That's 1 damage. That is not 2, Sol. That is 1. And
So
the problem
now-
is, if Casie bails out of the face plan and feels he has to trade, then surely he just loses, right?
Yeah, you have to put him to 1. It's the only line. It's the only line. You can't trade and just be out of stuff there.
So now Kolento needs 2 damage. And that is not 2 damage. Just 13.
I'm out. Rage
Is that
quit.
enough? I'm not going to tilt on camera. I'm just going to leave the camera. Yeah, I-
grow impatient.
Nothing, right? Because the dagger exists. He can't taunt up.
Yep.
Wow. Honestly, if you asked me before we started today, is Rogue going to beat Demon Hunter twice in a row on stream? I would have said probably not. But would it do?
I'm really happy it did as well, because
Yeah, I'm surprised.
I genuinely believe this matchup's fine. And I know I've been, banging that drum in all our testing sessions. I was even trying to convince TJ of it when I did some testing with the Americas guys the other night. I'm like, no, this matchup's fine. Like, don't worry about it. It's okay. And I do generally believe that is the case. Frozen Shadow Weaver is a card which helps a lot, which is not one that Casie is currently playing, I believe. I think he might have been caught in a zone where, the ban here has kind of caught him in a place where his decks aren't necessarily teched against everything in the way that they need to be, because of the surprise Face Hunter ban, or the surprise Face Hunter inclusion, I guess, from Kolento. But yeah, generally, I think that matchup is fine. And I think, we've just been seeing the bad end of some variants for Rogue on day one so far.
Yeah, we'll see how it continues to play out. It's now the Rogues are gone. The Rogue being the, I guess, overall talking point of this weekend of when there is Demon Hunter, there's Warrior knocking about, and seemingly everyone's bringing Rogue. Is that the one that's going to get the job done, or is it the one that's going to fall over for everyone? It seems to be doing, at least today, pretty okay as far as I'm concerned. So now we're going to end up just seeing a weird rest of the matchup where it's just like Demon Hunters, Warriors, and everything knocking around. There's still the Mage as well for Casie that he's going to have to take a win with, and at least based on what we saw earlier today in Asia Pacific, Mage is capable of literally anything at this point. And maybe Priest joins that family too, right? Of being capable of just truly ridiculous things.
Yeah, the series in particular, the last one of Samuel Sao versus Tyler, did really showcase quite how ridiculous some Priest and Mage games can get. As well as how ridiculous someone's webcam frame can get as well at certain points. But we've got plenty of that on our own side with Casie as well. But I'm interested to see how this will develop, because we do have a very laddery meta left over now as well, right? With the Rogues gone and with the Face Hunter banned away, like you said, it's Demon Hunters and Warriors and Mage and just generally the things that you're used to queuing into on ladder.
Yeah, as you can see there, Warrior, Demon Hunter left for Kolento, and Mage and Demon Hunter for Casie. So again, it would just give a nod towards whether this Mage is going to get the job done. But I think if I was Kolento here, you'd be feeling pretty comfortable. Although there is a reminder that we did discuss it in the last game, but Kolento's build of Demon Hunter is the build that is doing the worst so far in Grandmasters overall. So we'll see if it actually pans out for him. But we haven't really seen it happen though, right? Yet. Where the Furies just come down on curve, I'll say, after a Fell Screamer, which is so difficult for almost any deck to deal with. Let's go into it. Game number 3. It's going to be Warrior versus Mage.
Yeah, I think we did see it in that Samuel Sao series where it came down against Priest and was looking like it wasn't going to be anywhere near good enough, but then Samuel Sao managed to kill the most ridiculous reborn death rattle board in one Altruist turn and ended up just getting the win anyway. Demon Hunter can also do some ridiculous things. Let's not just pretend that's exclusive to Priest or Mage.
As can Warrior. Maybe we're just in one of those metas. Everything seems powerful.
Yeah, we really have not got to cast a whole bunch of Warrior so far yesterday. So I'm pretty excited to see this Battle Rage keep from Kolento against the Mage.
I see Kolento's been subscribing to the School of Raven on how to play Hearthstone. The usual, I guess. As I do like a Battle Rage keep, but just going over his deck, he's being a little bit more serious. He is running Grom, which seems to be, I think, the standard now, Sol. I'm not sure if you'll agree, but I think Grom is just a good card in this deck.
Yeah, sure.
If you run double Inner Rage, so you're just going to win some games. He's running the Injured Tolvir as opposed to the Egg package, which is the only real question in Kolento's Warrior list. Not really anything else that's too crazy, but there is a lack of Terran, which is often the case when you aren't running the Eggs.
Yeah, I'm sure this Battle Rage keep has already divided opinion amongst all of the high-level players and the viewers, as the card Battle Rage generally tends to do. It is just, purely by the numbers, a very middling keep in the matchup. It's in a position in mulligan win rates where you wouldn't really usually be looking to keep cards, just very mid-range. But a lot of people would argue that it's just the card that you need in most matchups.
Just a quick secret check. Casie is running an Ice Barrier and a Flame Ward in his list. So now that's kind of put paid to Kolento's potential insane draw of Inner Rage and the Bloodsworn Mercenary there as his draw this turn, which if you knew that he was just playing Ice Barrier, I think that would have been just the play to just Inner Rage and then go and duplicate it. But with the question of is it going to be the Flame Ward or not, Kolento's going to attack first, and he can still follow up with that turn. He just loses a tiny bit of damage. But I do like the committal to saying, oh, well, just because I couldn't attack for a bit more, I'm not going to do the play now. I think this is 100% the correct outcome here.
Yeah, for sure. That's what I like to see. And then Casie immediately just draws the Flame Ward straight after it.
Do you think there's
Kolento,
ever a Rampage?
Yeah, Kolento, I was going to say, can use Rampage here just to kind of preserve one minion, which does honestly seem pretty sensible. It's a lot of damage that he's pushing when he gets to connect with one of these minions, Rampage a different bomb wrangler, and then that pushes more, and then the bombs are exploding, and you're generating more bombs at the same time. Like, that's so much damage.
Yeah, and I do like the Battle Rage here. I was going to bring this point up, but you Battle Rage first. You're probably still going to Rampage anyway. I like at this point in the game, based on what Kolento's hand is, to just draw the extra cards. He's got so many good draws, right? The Corsair Cash, he's got some of the other spells he can get, or Risky Skipper, to help getting these other cards a little bit more active, like the Blood Boil Brute, even just the 1-1 Challenger. I still do like the Rampage, though. Hit him for 7. Bit more with the bomb. Generate 2 more bombs. Keep a Bomb Wrangler on board. Your Battle Rage pass.
So much rage.
Not sure what this has in mind, because I was thinking about the Rampage play, and it was like a tiny bit weak to Rolling Fireball, I guess. But it ends up in a pretty similar situation to what you see here, where the Rolling Fireball just kind of gets you anyway.
Yeah, I wonder if the idea of leaving the board how it was saying, outside of Rolling Fireball, you actually don't have a good turn 5 into this board.
Sure.
So
Yeah,
then, worst case, I'll just do it the turn after and you do Cern, so to speak.
Someone's gotta lead the charge.
I will say, though, the most success I've had in this matchup as the Warrior is going almost hyper aggro and just trying to kill them as quickly as possible. So I feel like if you try and play a little bit slower, or you're forced to play a little bit slower, all the combos in the world don't really do anything that great versus a Reno, versus a freeze board, and any kind of big remover like that.
Well, a couple of particular combos can certainly do a lot against those things, because board freezes and hard removal don't really do anything against making a huge charge minion and copying it and smashing it into your opponent's face. So I do think there is a very viable late game plan in this matchup where you can just push for those combos.
I do, but I think that there needs to be, like this turn now, right? You need to do at least a bit of the work first, right? And get the health around the right portion to do that. Because otherwise you can't do it from hand to deal 30 or even high 20s, right?
Yeah, for sure. Which is part of the reason why I was kind of into the Rampage turn.
Exactly, yeah.
Is it just, it dealt so much damage.
Yep. That's what I've been trying to do. I've just been messing about with it. Just going, 1-drop play. Buff. Hit face.
Yeah, we kind of got in like
a...
I guess like waiting room for this cast or whatever, and we were having a chat before we came on, and Raven hit me with the I've been playing some Pain Warrior recently, and I've just been playing Skipper on 1, and I just dipped out immediately and just went for a walk.
I was winning games.
Burn them all.
Look, I saw Tice do it yesterday, Saul, so it must be right. Okay.
Yeah, happened in APAC as well. Tom played it on 1 without even in an inner rage or anything to follow it up. Just played it.
I'm pretty sure Tom can play any card at any turn and win the game, though, so...
That is true.
Whilst looking relaxed doing it as well. One more challenge. I was going to say, this is a very awkward minion to deal with here. So it's going to reduce down a little bit here, but the challenge actually does a really good job of just letting this Corcoran Elite hit face. Kind of just reset the whole turn. Not the worst out.
Yeah, really didn't achieve that much though. He is, as you said, just reset the turn. He's kind of back exactly where he was at the start of the turn.
I do like this. I think now with Casey's hand, he really just wants to get to a box turn. If we can do this now, it's unlikely. I'd say the Doomsayer dies. Not definitely nowhere near impossible, but I guess just a Blood Boil does it because there's the Tolve that's damaged here. But still, with the second Ray of Frost, he can stall it out a little bit more, get that Mana Saber down next turn, and then the turn after on the Mana Saber's attack, it should unlock the Yogg Box for him.
Must burn them all.
In a weird way, he's almost okay with Kolento like developing into the board this turn and clearing the Doomsayer, because then, as you said, he can, Ray of Frost the biggest minion, which will most likely be a Blood Boil Brute if this Doomsayer is going to get cleared. And then he actually gets to play a box in a world where it's actually doing something for him, clearing the board as well as potentially generating him resources. Of course, Kolento has that information as well. He knows that there's a twin spell copy of Ray of Frost in hand. So, how much value really is just one big 6/8 on the board. I think you got to go for it.
Also, the Armor Smith has definitely made this Reno turn way less good. I'm not saying he would have done it regardless, but he couldn't do Reno with this Armor Smith on board, right?
Well, it depends. Because of the armor, or because he added 4 extra health to the board with an Armor Smith?
Both.
So
I guess he's not bothered about the armor, but
I don't think he cared
the
too
lack
much
of removal.
about the armor. Yeah.
It was already tough anyway, right? Because there would have been 12 on board. But with the Armor Smith, it just looks way worse.
Must burn them all.
Still, though, I think we are locked in for a pretty straightforward plan here from Casie. It's called play that card you keep hovering over. There's Kolento. That Blood Boil Brute frozen and a Mana Saber there. He must not be too surprised or if either Yogg Box or an Amazing Reno comes out.
And this is one of the worst times to be a Hearthstone player, because straight up, there's the 50-50. Is it Reno? Is it Puzzle Box that you have to kind of work out from this setup, which is pretty obviously a 10-mana play setup, right? So then after that, you're like, okay, well, I can't do anything against Reno, so let's think about Puzzle Box. Do you develop more and more into Puzzle Box? Like, do you make it have to be a Twisting Nether that comes out of the Puzzle Box? And, like, weigh that against, like, well, if it is a Twisting Nether that comes out of the Puzzle Box, I've just lost everything in my hand because I overdeveloped into the board. Like, the card's just too random for you to make any decent plan against.
Hold on to your hats. It's happening.
Big old whiff so far. It's something, but nowhere near good enough. Absolute disaster.
Yeah, I was going to say underwhelmed, but I think it's probably fair to upgrade that comment to disaster.
Mm-hmm. He did get a bunch of resources. That's the silver lining if you want to look for that. He was out of place completely before he played that. But there is still 6 more damage coming through, 8 more damage if Kolento starts swinging the knife as well.
Yeah, and my question now is, does Kolento, is it fair for him to have a read that Amazing Reno is not in hand because it would have been played over a box against that board? I know he's drawn some cards now, but...
Yeah, like, all of these cards are brand new, basically. Like, there's no read at all. Imagine trying to make reads after a puzzle box just happened, Draven.
Yeah, of course you do. Make reads in the mindset of your opponent. They played puzzle box.
Yeah.
Definitely weird. Although the dagger is free damage for Kolento, he does probably want these lackeys, right?
Burn them all.
Just get the actual value from the lackeys themselves going. Because right now, although his hand's not horrible, he needs something to just bring it together.
Mm.
Make haste.
I think Kolento does still have to fully commit here, though, which means potentially an amazing Reno draw from Casie can completely flip this game on its head. Yeah, I like that Kolento went in here. I think holding back against fear of another big removal just makes you too weak to small removals. To, you know, Dragon Caster, Deep Freeze, Siamat, Reno Relicologist was a complete blowout if he didn't develop more onto the board.
Yeah, if he'd overly played around Amazing Reno, he would have basically given Casie an Amazing Reno, just down to not putting enough pressure on the board regardless. So I do agree, I do like this. It looks like Casie might be committing to an Alexstrasza and Hope right now. Does anything else stick out to you?
Not that I can see right now.
Like, I guess Dragon Caster Conjuring, hopefully it's good, and then Bone Wraith was an option that could happen. But I don't know if the outcome of that is a little bit more secure at game winning than it would be from Alexstrasza. And Casie decides that Alexstrasza was the play. It was not good enough. Kolento wins game number 3 there, sorry, going 2-1 up.
Yeah, great performance. It was weirdly spaced out, I think. Certainly not like how I have been playing that matchup. But, you know, Kolento is kind of like that. He does, you know, have his own ideas on matchups a lot of the time. I think was called out at one point last season by Orange for not knowing the matchups at a high enough level. At one point, where it's, you know, gets pretty spicy over here in Europe sometimes. You know, you might get used to this, Raven, as the weeks go on. But yeah, Kolento obviously a great player with a fantastic worldwide reputation and a man who plays a ton of Hearthstone. Even if he's not, you know, fully grinding competitive Hearthstone week after week after week as he was at one point, he still just plays a ton. So it's no surprise that he is a Grandmaster still. But as we mentioned, not been going super well for him this season up until this point. So he's really looking for a big win here against Casie.
Yeah, and a Grandmaster for now, but this is a Division B match, which means even if it's quite early in the day so far for the divisions in the round-robin portion, but if you take a loss right now, that's just one extra hurdle, one extra step you've got to take to get one of those top 4 spots, which really secures your safety in Grandmasters if you are in Division B. So again, I don't want to losses, you can recover from losses, but really you want to just be winning as many matches as possible, so there's just zero fear of relegation.
It is going to come down to the Demon Hunter mirror, although it's not card for card as we've been talking about. As mentioned, the faster version has a slight edge based on yesterday's results in head-to-head matchups. So that is Casie's side of the equation.
Yeah, and so far, I see Casie keeping hold of a Twin Slice, which I do really like. I think it's probably one of the best cards in the deck. Just down to its just raw flexibility. Having second Twin Slice, Blazing Battle Mage, and a Battle Fiend means that, true to fashion, Casie's fast build is going to be pretty fast, and Kolento's build is now seeing just a little bit of the suffering from it, just with a Raging Fell Screamer in there, means that there's just an extra little layer of those mid to late game minions. I'm not saying that, yeah, most Demon Hunter decks runs Kane, most run Gravebound Adept. It's like, right, but that's it normally, right? It's not. Also, there's another 4-drop and a 7-drop.
Yeah, like the direct comparison right now would be like this Raging Fell Screamer could be a Beaming Sidekick, right? Like that's what you could look at in this position. All the other cards, everyone had the same opportunity to mulligan into those, but you know that Raging Fell Screamer can be a difference maker.
Oh,
in both directions, honestly. That is a hard pass from Casie, though. Right now, Kolento has absolutely nothing to capitalize on this with. Not sure whether a Priestess of Fury would be a good or a bad draw at this point.
Probably good, because at this point, if he's going to play this slow, he may as well get to the thing that's the payoff, right? As opposed to like going, now I draw my 1-drops on turn 4 and 5.
Yeah, I am also leaning towards good.
And although Casey's
This really
had
couldn't have crystallized any better, could it? Like, the faster deck is just playing a couple of 1-drops and smacking him, and then the admittedly only ever so slightly slower version of the deck has just drawn like 30 mana's worth of stuff in their opening hand.
Yeah, and it's a weird interaction even when you look at the mulligans as well, because arguably a part of Casey's slightly slower, fast opening that he's had due to Metamorphosis skull draws is that he kept a Twin Slice, which I said is a very good card. But if your opponent doesn't play anything to Twin Slice into, then it's just -1 card for a good portion of the game. So now it's just interesting the way the mulligans have shaken out with like Kolento having all the late game. But we are about to see the pop-off turn, which is the Priestess of Fury is going to come down, probably clear up this board, and then the follow-up is just power turn after power turn for Kolento. Is it going to be enough with 13 health to 29? With the help of an I-Beam next turn, it might be.
I-Beam is huge! Yeah, I like the decision from Kolento not to trade into anything there. Even though there's 4 health on board, that's a very different 4 health from just like 1/4/4 on the other side of the board, for example, because the first shot hits a minion 3 out of 4 times. Then the second shot, it already gets messy, but assume it didn't kill a 1/1. That also hits a minion 3 out of 4 times. Yeah? So you actually have a higher chance of clearing the board when it's spread out like that.
And here, we're going to see one of the power plays from Twin Slice I mentioned earlier, where Twin Slice could have come down if there was no weapon, and it would have activated the Glade Hound regardless, which is a huge deal. Casie, of course, had the weapon anyway, so now next turn he has Metamorphosis, Hero Power, Twin Slice, Twin Slice, Twin Slice.
Okay. Possibly unbeknownst to Kolento here, he must heal. But it's a really weird-looking I-Beam to play this turn, right?
I think... It is, but if there's one thing I'm scared of against Demon Hunter is just dying. So I think it wouldn't be too much of a stretch to go, for example...
It's literally only this 3-card combo in a 4-card hand, right? Do you die to anything else? Empty board, 8 health? Nice. Okay.
I think my question is, can you afford to play around it because you've got so much stuff in the late game and you just win the turn after?
Yeah.
So I think
it's absolutely
although it's
the play.
unlikely, you just can afford to play around here if you're Kolento.
I think more importantly, he just doesn't need the Metamorphosis shot that turn anyway, right? Like, it's just so unimportant when he...
Priestess of Fury casts it every turn.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
insane.
And like, by I-beaming the 6/4, he can ignore it and push face with the Fell Screamer. So he's getting 4 damage there instead of the 5 he would get from his hero power anyway.
And this is the benefit of the slower version, where if a Priestess of Fury is not answered the turn after it is played, it gets so much better every single turn, because the person who played its board is only getting better as well, and Kolento is just going to, just like that, take the series 3-1 over Casie. May not have had the best first 3 weeks of Swiss, but he's getting off to a fantastic start for his round-robin portion of Grandmasters this season.
Yeah,
one up for the Priestess of Fury.
Exactly, yeah. One up for the big druid. Big druid? One up for the big demon hunter. Back to easy big druid all over again. Going back to Seat Story days. Jeez. Yeah, one up for the big demon hunter. Of course, Casie is going to take that hard. He's a very emotional Hearthstone player. He lets it show on camera, which I'm absolutely fine with. But it just goes to show how important these matches are now, because we've entered a whole different stage of stakes and a whole different stage of drama than we were seeing in the Swiss proceedings, which were just sort of, selecting your difficulty level, right? Like, you've booted up your game, you've got past the splash screen, you hit new game, and you have to pick your difficulty level. Normal mode, Division A. Hard mode, Division B. Now, from this point onwards, Casie knows he's playing hard mode. When you're playing hard mode, you can't be affording to die on the first level.
Yeah, definitely one of those scenarios where you don't need to be the cool person who's like, I always play on hardest difficulty every time. It's like, no, give me the easy mode every time. But yeah, congratulations
Journalist
to Kolento.
mode, let's go.
Yeah. Good joke. Kolento taking the series there over Casie. Fantastic start for him. We are just going to go to a quick break. Got a few things to sort out, getting ready for the next match. So don't go anywhere, and we'll be right back with some more Hearthstone.